Hi, everyone, and welcome to the London Community Week podcast, the show where we spotlight the brilliant minds shaping the future of community building across the UK and beyond. I'm your host, Kate Bova, and today I'm excited to introduce you our guest, Mohammed. Mohammed is an experienced community manager, passionate about fostering engagement and knowledge sharing. And Personio, he helps build a global community of practice for HR professionals, driving collaboration and professional growth. Previously, Mohammed led global community initiatives at inter-university partnership, managing content strategy, onboarding, and engagement for international students. He also worked with CheckStep, supporting AI-driven content moderation solutions. With expertise in community building, project management, and stakeholder collaboration, Mohammed is dedicated to creating spaces where people connect, learn, and thrive. Mohammed, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So let's start with you. Tell us more about your role right now and the kinds of community you are working with.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm right now. I have the pleasure of working at Personio as the international community manager. And as a quick explainer for that, the community infrastructure at Personio is split between our predominantly German community, the DACH community, and the international, mostly English speaking, but also some other non-German languages in the international community. So I'm in charge of the international community and developing that out to be equal parts a place for people to help each other use the Personio product, which is an HR information system, but also to learn how to be better as an HR and people professional and to build your network as part of a community of practice.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly exciting. Thank you for sharing. How actually did you first get into the world of community building? It was that you always planned, or something that happened by accident with you?
I think like with a lot of community managers, it happened pretty much by accident. I've spent quite a bit of time working in different fields that are mostly writing based, but being like sports writing, reporting, working in advertising and PR. And then came across community because I wanted to start as a moderator for a small social media platform called Campus Society, intended for university students and incoming university students. Moderation was fascinating. It was hard work. It was something I've never done before, but it gave me access to what a community management role, which would be the next step, what that would look like. And after doing moderation for 2 years, I decided, you know what, actually, let's get more into this community thing and see how it goes. And that was my first jumping off point, and it's been incredible ever since.
Yeah. I think your path into this is so interesting and exciting, and I love to learn a bit more about your experience. What the best practices have worked well for you when collaborating with universities from one side, and from with HR from other side?
Absolutely. I think there's one core thing that I've learned that applies to community management positions at every place that I've been at, which is that even though there's communities of different sizes, where some of the communities I've managed in the past have been as big as like 1 to 2 million users or members rather, and then as small as, a couple hundred, one thing that's really been key has been basing this on this more analog and slower personal connection, and everywhere you can to do a sort of one-to-one community building at the same time that you do one-to-one or one-to-many rather. And so I try to make it as personal as possible, as frequently as possible, to meet with people over, Zoom calls, Google
Yeah.
Meets, what have you. If I can, the gold standard is to meet people in person. And so one thing I learned working with universities, to people who are fans of gaming, to HR professionals that I work with right now, it's that getting to meet them in person and getting to actually say hello. This is like a flesh and blood real person, and not just like an avatar asking you to engage with a post, has been gratifying in the job, but it's also made the job so much easier because people tend to invest more and more of their time in what you're trying to build if they meet you in person.
Yeah. I'm totally agree with that. Do you want to add some more points? Maybe some your advice as far as the community managers when they are working with universities or working a lot with HR professionals?
Absolutely. And so my advice would be, everywhere you can, get on whatever public transportation you use, whatever personal transportation you use, and meet your stakeholders. Meet the people that not just that you will be reporting to, but the people that you're partnering with. For example, at my job at Into University Partnerships previously, every time that I met with one of the universities that we were helping to engage better with their international students, it felt easier for them to try to ask me for help. So everything ran smoother because we had a personal connection. So the simplest way I can put this is make sure that you build as personal and as in real life a connection that you can with your stakeholders as possible, because that buy-in is going to be easier, but they will also feel more open to asking you questions that otherwise they would feel a bit hesitant about. So really get as personal as possible.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a pure gold for other community managers, because I think it's so important to build this private connection with your members. And I know that sometimes it's so hard when you have a lot of like thousands of users or members, and of course it's hard, but yeah, it's possible to manage it with by your own or with your team. So yeah, thank you for this advice. And of course, here we are because of the London Community Week. And London Community Week is coming up soon, and you will be a speaker. So, Mohammed, what will you be speaking about, and why is this topic so important right now?
Absolutely. I'm so thankful and so lucky to be part of London Community Week, to share a stage with so many incredible community managers. The thing I wanted to present on and talk about was the project that has been about the last year of my career, and particularly my year at Personio. It's been taking this international community that had zero trust and as a result, zero engagement that we were looking for, to take it from there to where it is now, which is a totally fundamentally different place that's buzzing with peer-to-peer engagement and is even becoming the community of practice that we wanted it to be. And the presentation is about our journey, and particularly my journey from the very beginnings where things were looking quite bleak to where we are now, which is just a completely different rosy picture. And the reason I wanted to do this was because I learned a lot by doing things, by sometimes even failing in things. And I really wanted to share what I learned and how it can be applied to different community settings, particularly in enterprise and software customer communities, because these are places where engagement can be quite difficult to achieve. And so I thought maybe if I share my experience and some of my key takeaways that other community managers can use, it can keep some positive momentum, and it can make it so that, look, it's hard, it's difficult, but others have done it, I've done it. Here's the thing that I've learned about it. Here's a couple of things I've learned about it. You can do this too.
You mentioned about key takeaways. Actually, what's one or maybe top three key takeaways that you hope the audience will leave with after your talk?
This was actually the hardest part to do at the presentation, was to narrow the key takeaways down to a few things, because I learned so much. But one
Yes, I know.
It's a difficult one, but one example that really helped me out, and I actually, funny enough, I learned from another community member, and it's just been so helpful. I wanted to talk about this concept of surprise recognition versus scheduled rewards. And so what I tried in the community was, my instinct, like most community managers, is to offer rewards for people for engaging up to a certain level as part of the gamification process. It's quite standard. But what I did instead was, through the advice of a book that was recommended to me by another community member, it's called Drive by Dan Pink. I started giving, along with giving community members badges, what I would do is give them surprise recognition. So every about couple months or so, they would get this like surprise mailing or a surprise inclusion in one of Personio's product videos to say, oh, by the way, look at these stars in our community, and look how helpful they've been to us in the community, and how helpful they've been to each other, to other customers. And so there's very minimal scheduled rewards built into the program that I'll be discussing in the presentation. And the reason for that was, one, I've never tried, sort of kind of random recognition and surprise recognition. And when I tried it, it turned out to be something that was quite valuable to people that were participating in our community. They felt more connected, and their engagement increased, and they built up the community to what it is today, which is just booming and buzzing. And so really, to put it short, one of those key takeaways is, as much as you can, build your programs so that you don't have a lot of scheduled rewards. You don't want to make things too transactional. You want to be able to build in a bit of surprise and delight into your engagement programs.
Yeah, love that. And I know that it's hard for every speaker will be to do this presentation and to share the experience only in 15 minutes. It's like a TED talk. And you mentioned that you have also a lot of things that you wanted to say, but it's hard to find the main takeaways that you wanted to share. So I wish you good luck with that because I have the same pains during the preparation of the presentation. Yeah, but yeah, I can't wait to dive into that. And also, you'll be in London. We'll be hearing you, listening you, and yeah, I think it will be big goals for every community manager at the conference. Yeah. So thank you. And also about your background. And it connects with your topic also about your background, some maybe your mistakes or some advices. And I want to ask you about fuck ups. I ask it every speaker actually. Can you share with us one big mistake, or maybe not mistake, because I know that a lot of community managers don't like
Yeah.
mistakes. Okay, let it be challenge. Yeah, what's one big challenge that was hard for you, but that ended up and teaching you something valuable in your career?
Absolutely. This one also was difficult because there's a large collection of mistakes, and so I had to pick one. Was tough.
Sorry,
But
sorry for this question.
it's a great one though. I'm such a fan of this question. I mean, I owe so much of my career to mistakes and how much I've learned. But my first couple months at Personio, one thing that I did wrong, I got quite nervous about the fact that I was dealing with customers, enterprise customers. And so getting things wrong and maybe misstepping felt like I was going to upset a customer and maybe we were going to, lose revenue or something. And so this is the first time I worked in B2B enterprise, SaaS and enterprise software communities. And I felt quite nervous about engaging. My usual style is to basically chat as much as possible, say hello to as many people as possible, really get familiar. And I hesitated quite a bit. And I was overthinking everything. And that proved to be a mistake because it really limited my learning. It really limited how much I could introduce myself to people and build connections. Instead of me being cautious, I ended up being so cautious that I just wasted all this time where I could get to know people. And it really limited how much momentum I could have gotten early on when I first started the job. Thanks to an incredible manager and an incredible team who pointed this out to me, I was able to fix it. But when I first started, I still think about it now. Like if I just did what I'm doing now before, which is to reach out to people and to be personable and to just be myself, to not limit myself too much. Who knows how much better we'd be doing now. I'm happy with where we are now, but that mistake limited me and made me a bit slower, if that makes sense.
What is the biggest lesson you had after this situation and after this story?
The biggest one is an old lesson, and one that I think it's going to stay with me forever now, which is try things, fail quickly, and then learn. Don't worry about the prospect of failing. Just make sure that the goal is to show up, try things, and if it succeeds, wonderful. If you fail at something, you can learn and quickly move on to the next thing. And I'm lucky to be working in a supportive environment that supports like ambitious targets and ambitious goals, so that if you fail at something, the attempt is absolutely given, the respect and credence and credit that it deserves, but also you're taught to learn and expected to learn from these things so that you can just keep going. So really, if it's two words that I could summarize it to, it's I learned to fail quickly and just don't be afraid of it.
Yeah, it's a lesson worth bookmarking, because a lot of community managers, and me especially, just wanted to do everything perfect. And like sometimes we expect so much from ourselves to know everything. We should to know what to do, how doing strategies step by step, how working with our members, and so on and so on. But it's okay to like don't know something and to fail and to do mistakes. And thank you for sharing the story, because what I see with working with different community managers, they're really afraid of mistakes because they have expectations that other people just want from them to do something perfectly, but it's not true. Nobody is expecting that, because it's okay to do some fails, some mistakes, and but then you will have data, and after this data you can do another decision. Like, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's so important. You just need that data. And if you don't try stuff, you don't have anything.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, but what about one of your proudest moments as a community leader in your career?
The proudest moment, honestly, has been the first time that I've been really lucky to have every place I've gone. I've had great managers, and every one of them has been a great step for me to continue in my career, and I've developed because of them. And when I worked at another company called Future Publishing, I was in charge of essentially part of a community team that built up these hobby communities, interest communities. And I was given my first project when I went from assistant community manager to community manager. My first project, solo project, was here's this community for enthusiasts of space, people who are into space and astrophysics and things like that. We are at the beginning stage of this community. Go spend this year developing it, report back to us, give the team a presentation, but this is your baby. This is your project now. I was given ambitious targets. I was told to grow the community by 2% month to month by the end of the year. And I was proud at the end of this because I ended up growing the community by an average of 8% month to month. Engagement fell along those lines as well. And it was moderated without being restricted. It was the proudest moment because I didn't know if I could do this job. Because I've never done it before. And so after presenting this to my team and seeing the results in the data, it felt like this real moment of, wow, you can do this actually. You have the right people around you, and if you are unafraid, and if you commit to just trying things and making mistakes and learning, you really can do this.
Yeah, yeah. I think that achievement is so uplifting for you because it gives you a lot of energy and a lot of confidence, I guess. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. Thank you for sharing. And just also want to know a bit about trends. Are there any trends or shifts in the digital world, community world? Maybe something like from the niche of HRs or universities, working with university, that you are following and you are especially paying attention to right now.
Absolutely. So the number one thing on my list, paying attention to trend-wise, it's like a two-part thing, but it's one thing. So it's in-person events for niche communities. And so I'm learning that while webinars and digital interfaces work just fine, and they do, people are busy, communities tend to be global and international, so online events are not going anywhere, webinars are not going anywhere. But for niche communities, like when I meet with HR professionals in places like Cambridge or London, to have these communities meet in person so that they know, oh, I can actually connect with these other attendees outside the office. My favorite moment of events these days, small events, maximum 20 people, is people get together and there's this like image of them exchanging phone numbers and LinkedIn profiles. And that is just the high mark of success for me. And so the thing I'm paying attention to is what happens in this space of niche, intimate, small, in-person gatherings that are catered to a specific category of people, to specific jobs, specific interests. And the reason I'm paying attention to it is I wonder if there's going to be in the next couple of years more technology and platforms and software that's catered to facilitating those things, like a company like Meetup or something, but even smaller and more niche so that it feels even more personal. Are there going to be competitors for these platform event providers like Eventbrite and Meetup and things like that? That's what I'm really interested in. I'm paying attention to, because the more niche we can get, the more we can separate ourselves as being authentic from gigantic platforms, without naming any, but gigantic platforms. So that's something I'm really paying attention to.
You mentioned about platform, but I also want to ask you about some maybe favorite tools or frameworks or some maybe methods that you lean on in your community work. Maybe something that you use day by day that helps you to manage the team or to manage the processes or to manage your members, actually. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple. One of them is I've very recently, thanks to a very competent team. Again, I can't say that enough. I've gotten really used to project management software such as Jira, and I
Okay.
didn't realize how many things go into the job of community management because I've spent so much time going from one task to another task to another task and kind of just doing stuff and being a little bit like I knew what my North Star was to build this community, engage, really just sort of water this garden. Like I'm just working
Mhm.
on the thing, right? Just doing things. And learning about project management software and taking courses on project management software has made me more aware, like, oh wow, we have like 100 things that we're doing. And we need to be able, like I needed to be able to show, here's what I'm working on, here's why, and here's who I'm working with. And that has made such a difference for me. I mean, my days are completely different now. It's so instead of structuring myself day to day, I structure myself from week to week and from month to month so that I know what I'm doing next quarter on a Wednesday, like
Mhm.
in August or something, right? I know what I'll be doing at that. It can change. Don't get me wrong, it can change. But that project management software has made it so that I know what's going on, and
Mhm.
it's almost like a calendar, but it's detailed in the brain. And
Yes.
I know that there are community managers who do this as a default and have been doing it for years. But as someone who's still developing in my career, I'm learning more about that. And as a tool, I would say Jira is like the big thing for me. It's changed.
Mhm. Mhm. You also mentioned about North Star. It's so big topic, but I just want to quickly ask you about advice to other community managers how to find the North Star of your community for other businesses and other community managers. It's not so easy, I know.
It is difficult. I mean, it's difficult because we community managers it's hard to stick into one industry because I started managing students, then managing people who were interested in things like technology and space and science and video games, to then managing communities of HR professionals. The thing that helps to find this North Star is to treat the community as I know that community managers are getting all the KPIs and the expectations, and they're the people who get paid the salary to build this. And there's a lot of pressure. But to treat this as a project where you're building with your community rather than you building something for them, like as in like top down. So it's
Mhm.
not that you're here building to the rest of the community. It's that you're all together and you're trying to build this space together. Treat yourself as an organizer and not just as a builder. I've noticed that sometimes when we call ourselves builders, we kind of treat it the way that a software developer or a product manager might, or a marketer might treat the building process, which is I make this thing, I give it to an audience, and I hope it goes well. And if it doesn't, I fix it. That's part of our job. But I would encourage every community manager that might be listening to this to treat every time that you're trying to build a community as a collective project. Your stakeholders are not just internal. Your community members are people that are going to tell you. If you ask them, odds are they'll tell you, here's why I'm here, or here's why I'm not here, and here's what I'm missing, or here's how my life is going, right? If you treat it as a thing that you're building with them, you'd be surprised how your conversations change because all of a sudden you take an interest in them personally way more often. Now you're asking them, how's your job going? What's something that bugs you about your job, or what's made you happy this week? It's a bit more like actually building with rather than just building for.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Thank you for this inspiration. And yeah, just I think I have the last one question because I could ask you a lot of different questions, but I think let it be the last one. Mohammed, if you had to describe your vision for the future of communities in just 3 words, what would they be?
I would say so. I have an acronym which is just PNP, which is personal, niche, and honestly profitable. Communities have this potential to make the internet what it was probably for some people what it was meant to be, which is about these niche, personable communities. And it has the opportunity to make things more personal, especially as we have more worries about generative content, about artificial intelligence, about an internet that is filled with quote unquote bots. Communities have a chance to really bring some softness and some hope to that. And I think
Mm.
nicheness is the way we do that, and having niche communities. And I think both of those things combined, the personableness and the nicheness of communities is going to lead inevitably, I hate to bring it to money, but inevitably, I think it'll make communities profitable and therefore sustainable. So it'll be personal, niche, and profitable.
Wow. Wow. Mohammed, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been such a joy hearing your story, your insights, your passion for building communities. And thank you. Thank you again. See you in London.
See
And
you.
see you in 1 week.
Thank you so much, Kate. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.